live with the Yo Checker Show. We are on Star 94 with Craig Stewart in the house. Author, writer, we should just say everything writing, anything writing, right? Because,
Absolutely. Playwright,
yeah,
greeting cards,
That's right,
dibbling and
greeting
dabbling into some
cards.
television now.
Jeez,
Yeah.
you got a lot going on.
It's a beautiful thing.
How do you stay focused? Do you have like a manager or an assistant or something like?
No, I need both, actually.
Really?
Yeah, I actually do it all on my own. I self-published both of the books, Words
Right.
Never Spoken and One Thing for Certain, Two Things for Sure. But they all just kind of came, they kind of staggered, the project staggered, so they didn't kind of overlap, with the exception of the television project that I'm co-developing and co-creating now.
Right.
That's kind of overlapped with the book tour
Which
and
has been
writing.
taking some time.
Yeah,
Right?
it has. It's been 3 years in development.
What's the difference in the writing with like writing a book and then writing like you did greeting cards, like all of those different aspects? Like, what is the difference? Is it all just the same, or is it? You know
No,
what I
it's
mean?
it's definitely different. They all came to me differently too, I have to say. The greeting cards came at a time when I was writing and producing my first stage play, which is called A Day in the Life. And I didn't know if I was writing greeting cards or if I was writing dialogue for the play. But once I got to know the characters, I knew I could tell the difference between the two. But the greeting cards also came during a time that I was experiencing a depression. So most of the greeting cards I
right.
wrote to myself.
Right.
They became very personal. So we have encouragement cards, wisdom cards, that kind of thing. But we also have breakup cards and birthday cards and love cards. So I'm always able to tell what's what,
Right.
you know. So it's just a different style of writing. It's
Well,
just
then
a
too,
different
when you write
format.
for like TV shows, you gotta write like the door slammed.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
picked up the.
And the same thing
Well,
kind
that's
of
stage plays.
yeah, the same thing with stage plays. That's
Yeah.
what I was gonna say. But it's not as involved with the stage play. Like with television, screenwriting is very detailed in terms of what the weather is like, what time of day it is, and
I hate
yeah,
details.
yeah, it's very detailed. It's extremely detailed.
That
Yeah,
would drive me nuts.
yeah, it is. And
But
so
that's good, and that's why it takes so long.
exactly.
Obviously.
But a lot of it is the pitching.
Yeah.
You know,
Pitching is hard.
yeah. So we haven't even gotten to the point that we're pitching the show yet. But I've been fortunate. Like that thing kind of came and fell in my lap. I've been working on this television series with Suzanne DePass, legendary Suzanne DePass, who, if you know, is credited with discovering Michael Jackson, and she's a former Motown exec. And they recently had a Broadway production called Motown the Musical.
Right.
That's been in New York, and there's a touring company as well. So she is actually the executive producer of this show that I'm co-creating. Yeah, it's myself
so that
and 3
gives
other
you, like,
writers.
One step in. A little bit
Hopefully.
more. Hopefully, right?
Hopefully,
Yeah.
you know.
I mean, it's good to have those relationships.
Absolutely.
It helps with the pitch process.
Absolutely. So, you know, but I pray about it too every single day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're very spiritual.
Very much so spiritual. Wouldn't say religious, but very much so spiritual. I believe that your conscience is your connection to God. I believe it's.
So why not religious? Do you go to church every Sunday?
No, I don't. I'm not opposed to going to church, but sometimes when you're talking about religion has always been about the control of man and what we think and how we live and that kind of
It's
thing.
not as fluid. As
Yeah,
spiritual.
that's more about man's power, where
Right.
spirituality is more about God or a higher power and your connection to that higher power and leaning on that higher power to guide you and direct you through life. So yeah.
Did you have trouble like struggling? Obviously, the book is about you coming out as a gay man, words never spoken, which is
Go on and jump right on into it.
I know, let's just dive right in. But I'm connecting that because like with the whole religious thing, like was that hard for you to go to church because it's not accepted, quote unquote, you know?
Yeah, it was definitely hard to reconcile my sexuality with my spiritual or religious at that time, religious beliefs. But it wasn't just because of that. It was also because I'm a black person. You know, so black people as a whole are very much so connected, if you will, to church, to religion. It's been that force that's carried us through slavery, through the Middle Passage,
Right.
through Jim Crow, through civil rights. So it is that force
Yeah.
in the black community. And for me, it was a struggle, not just because of the religion, but because of the black church, the black family, and the black community. So
It's
it
like all of it.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So it was definitely a journey of reteaching myself the things that I had been taught about myself and being gay and what that means and
Yeah.
what it looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're talking to moms, and I know, like in part of the book, obviously you come out to your mom.
I come out to my mom.
First time,
Yeah.
and she wasn't quite set in with it.
No, she wasn't. And I've always had a very close relationship with my mom. I went away to college to Hampton University in Virginia. And so that's 4 hours from Baltimore. I'm from Baltimore.
Right.
And so we spoke regularly. And then when I left college, 2 days after I moved from college, I moved here to Atlanta to write music, and I did that for a while. But that's even further from Maryland. And so at my first year here, my mom would call me every single day. So we spoke every single day on the phone. And but once I came out to her and actually told her
Yeah.
that I was gay, it just really kind of changed the dynamic of our communication.
Just for a few weeks.
For like 2 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah.
But then now it's normal again.
It's normal again. But
Okay.
yeah, for like 2 weeks, it was very, very strained.
Okay.
She would call me,
Yeah.
and this is during the time of like answering machines.
Yeah.
So she would call me when she knew I was at work or I wasn't at home.
Right.
And she'd leave a message and say, hey, give me a call, and then I'd call her back. And she was always conveniently busy. Like she was just cleaning up the kitchen, or she was cooking dinner, or she was about to take her shower, or she was about to go to bed. It was always something. So that went on for about 2 weeks. And then finally she called and she said to me very abrasively, I don't want to meet any of those people. She was coming down here for the first Thanksgiving that I spent here.
Right.
And she said, listen, do you either want to spend Thanksgiving with your family or those people, but I don't want to meet any of them. So you need to choose. And so it was just very, very difficult.
Now, we know that was difficult for you, but how about putting yourself in a mother's shoes?
Absolutely.
And then saying, like, how do you recommend to deal with something like that? Is
Well,
what I'm saying, because the women are listening.
Absolutely. And what I've realized is you have to spoon feed your family, your loved ones, your parents, whomever it is.
Any kind of big news.
Any kind of big news, especially with this, because people have this idea of how they, especially your parents, they have this idea of how your life is going to play out or how they want your life to play out. Even down sometimes to the career that you choose or the college that you go to. I hear people saying all the time that they don't want their children to go too far away from home. And when that decision really should be the person that's going away to college. But I realized during that 2-week period that I had to step back and allow my mom to digest this information, because it took me 22 years to be comfortable in my skin to even act on the feelings. So I couldn't expect her to be okay in 2 weeks. So I decided that I would not force feed her and say, oh, well, this weekend I went on a date, or, this is my boyfriend, or da-da-da. I didn't do all of that, So like when we did talk, she would say, well, what did you do this weekend? Oh, I went to the movies, or I went to eat. And of course I was going with my friends who were gay, or the person that I was dating at the time. But I didn't throw that in her face. I realized that she had to grow into this information. But I also, with that being said, I believe that your mother always knows. I believe your mother always knows. Now, she may not be ready to admit it.
Did she tell you that she knew?
She did. And I believe that, and she'll even say now, like any parent who's paying attention to their children, they know that they're gay.
Well, I know I read that your dad knew, or he said it to the neighbor next door.
Yeah, he kind of hinted to it. But then in my second book, I talk about how he actually said to me in the actual conversation, he didn't know. But I think that parents, just like,
but something new, something about
absolutely. But just like me, the person, living that, experiencing that, suppressed the feelings. Your parents can sometimes suppress the knowledge, and so it's when you come out to them or you have this conversation with them, you take away any possibility of them pretending not to know. So sometimes it's the reality of it that crushes them. So even though they knew somewhere on some level tucked away, sometimes it's the reality of hearing it.
So what would be the ideal way for a parent to react?
I mean, I think that a person is going to react any way that they react. But I just think that as a person that's gay or bisexual or trans or whatever your story is, you have to prepare yourself and allow the person to feel whatever they feel.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that you have to allow them to disrespect you
Yeah.
or to mistreat you.
Yeah.
But you have to allow them to experience it the way that they need to experience it. Because again, for me as a person that is gay, it took me years to be comfortable to even act on the feelings, to even have gay friends, to even attempt to go on a date or whatever it was. So I was shaking it. I was running. I was suppressing it, trying to hide and dodge it. So.
And then the time that you told during the time that you told your mother you were dating a guy who you then found out had HIV.
Absolutely.
Which is how you began the book.
Yes.
So it was interesting how you just dived into that. My first experience with a man who.
Yeah.
Was that because did he influence you to write the book?
No, he actually influenced me to write the stage play, A Day in the Life.
Right.
A Day in the Life was all of the things that I didn't understand about being gay. About the gay community, about the feelings that I had. It was all of that. But of course, in some sense, he's influenced Words Never Spoken too, because he's a section of this book. But he really impacted my career and the way that my work would change.
He took you to the next level.
He did.
Like your mind.
He did.
Yeah.
But yeah, when I met him, the character's name is Salim. It was 2 months after.
So are none of the names real in the book?
Some names are real. Tyler Perry's name is real.
Right.
Brandy Norwood, the singer, she's real because I had interaction with those people. My family members, their names are
Did
real.
you get
permission
to
from.
use their names, or is it just?
No, it's not slanderous. So no.
It's regular.
Yeah,
It's what happened. It is what it is.
Absolutely,
Okay.
It's truth. It's all true. Memoir.
Just wondering,
But yeah, so Salim is the first guy that I fell in love with. And he found out 2 months after we met that he was HIV positive. And as I describe in the book, it's almost the equivalent of a girl getting pregnant on her first sexual encounter. It was a nightmare, it was one of the things that I had literally feared about the gay community and being gay, because on some level, I thought at some point that HIV was part and parcel of being gay, that at some point it had to become my reality. But I know better now.
Yeah.
But yeah, so meeting him and falling in love with him and then finding out 2 months into the relationship that he was HIV positive, it crushed me. It totally destroyed me. And so I found myself going to HIV and AIDS workshops here around the city and learning.
Still? Currently?
No, I haven't been to one in many years, but I'm pretty hip now. I pretty much know what's going on now.
Yeah.
But this weekend was full of it was a weekend workshop full of like professionals, those infected, those affected by the virus, healthcare professionals, drug reps. And so we learned everything that we could about the disease. This was in 2002. And so I was trying to get the information so that I could take it back and have it for my relationship and walk on into the sunset. But he had other intentions. He had no intention of staying involved with me because he was positive and I am not.
Yeah.
So he ended the relationship. And so I take you through that whole storyline in the book, but it changed my life. And I realized that the reason that I went to those workshops was not for the purpose of maintaining that relationship, but for the purpose of me writing A Day in the Life. Because everything that I learned at that workshop became the backdrop for A Day in the Life. Yeah.
Okay. A Day in the Life elaborates more on, because I haven't read that at all.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know.
A Day in the Life it's a stage play, and I believe it looks at 6 gay characters, and I believe those 6 characters
That's right.
represent the persona that you find in gay life. So it's the most feminine gay guy, It's the transgender who believes she should have been born a woman. It's the minister of music of the church who's struggling to reconcile his religious beliefs with his sexuality. It's the closeted professional. Mm-hmm. He's in a relationship, but nobody knows he's gay, so he has this undercover life. Then there's the character that I wrote after myself.
Okay.
Comes from a supportive family. He's not struggling with his sexuality. He just wants a healthy relationship.
Yeah.
And then there's the DL character, or straight identified character, who has a girlfriend, but he has sex with men on the side. So they come together in this focus group. It's a dramedy. They come together in the focus group. There's a therapist that brings them together.
So closeted and DL.
Some people say DL. I say straight identified. I sometimes go between the two.
Okay.
But the bottom line is he doesn't believe that he's gay because he has a girlfriend and he's not interested in a relationship with the man. He doesn't live a gay, quote unquote, lifestyle. When I say lifestyle,
interested in dibbling and
right,
dabbling.
he enjoys the company of a man.
Right. Okay.
When I say he enjoys the gay lifestyle, I don't mean in terms of being gay as a lifestyle, because I don't believe that. But I mean in terms of he doesn't have gay friends, he doesn't go to gay parties, gay functions, right. Gay clubs.
Gotcha. Yep.
He's not interested in that part of it. He just has the sex with the man.
The gay sex.
Right. The gay sex.
The gay
okay,
sex.
I'll
Gay
accept that.
sex.
Okay,
Sex.
right.
Right.
Okay,
Or
right.
no?
Right, yeah.
Sex.
Yeah, he's, yeah.
Okay. Maybe that sounds weird. Yeah.
Okay. So they come together in this focus group, and the therapist that brings him together knows each of them. And so he brings them together with hopes that they'll learn something from each other, because they're all at a different point in their sexuality and their comfort zone. But of course, pandemonium breaks loose in the focus group. And so we flash to a day in the lives of some of the characters.
Okay.
So with the DL character, we flash to the day that his girlfriend learns that she's actually HIV positive. But she never learns that he's dealing with men.
Wow.
And so my original background is songwriting. So I ended up writing all of the music for the play. So I was able to tie all of that back into the stage play.
I love it.
So now I'm looking to do the show next year. So I've been in talks. It's just about getting the funding and staging the show again. But I would love to do it next year.
Well, you've been at the Playhouse before on 14th Street.
I have.
Right?
14th Street Playhouse, 7 stages down a Little 5. The Balzer Theater Theatrical Outfit, which is downtown. And then Center Stage. It was Earthlink Live at the time.
Okay.
Yeah, it was called Earthlink Live. So hopefully soon, and then I can come back and talk about that.
And you could link up. At some point, you did mention, look, he's like swallowing, like, no.
I was just going to let you have that
We're
one.
just putting it in the air.
Well, Tyler came to the very first production at 14th Street Playhouse. He called the show brilliant, but he would not help take the show to the national stage. And I write about that in the book. So that's where he comes into the book. And I talk about why he wouldn't help. And so, in long or short, because of the content of the show. Okay. Because it's about 6 gay characters. And his audience is black church women.
Hello.
So.
Hello. It would do so great.
I mean, hey, if you know Tyler, tell him.
So.
I would think so too.
Let's just put it out there. I'm just saying, you never know.
You never know. You never know. But I believe everything happens when and as it should. Totally. So if it was supposed to happen with him in 2002, it would have. But I believe there are so many other forces at play. I think that at 26, I probably could not have handled that kind of attention, that kind of success. And I've even said at some of the book signings that I've had, I would probably be HIV positive today if that show had gone on tour. It would have been all about me, and I would have been dating and doing whatever with whomever. Totally. But now at this age, at 39 years old, I'm grounded, and I realize that it's not about me. It's really through me, and just about being a voice, being a voice.
So what do you say to gay men, gay women who are trying to learn who they are and come out to the world? What do you say to them?
Why be somebody else when you get to be yourself? Like, there is nothing more fulfilling than living in the light, living your truth, living free, living without apology. Yeah. Now,
are they being selfish, like these guys that you talk about, these DL guys? Or, are they just being selfish, trying to just be with 2 different sexes?
No.
Or is it just, I need to hide? So
Well,
I'm
I think
going to.
it's sometimes an amalgamation of things. Sometimes it's I just need to hide. I'm not ready to live in my truth. Sometimes it's just a journey to discovering your sexuality, because I think at some point we've all been closeted.
Right.
The majority of us. I mean, of course, there are some gay men and women who came out the womb gay,
Right.
and you know they're gay. You know what I
Well,
mean?
do you believe that it's biological?
I believe that it's definitely biology at play. I definitely believe that it's genetics. There are exceptions. For example, I have a cousin, a female cousin, who was raped. I believe she was born heterosexual, but she was raped by some men. And so there was a period in her life where she
Hated men.
and she dated a woman.
Ah.
But because I think what happens is your mind tries to compartmentalize that trauma. So the same is true with the molestation. I know many
Right.
gay men who were molested as children, and they believe that they're conflicted sexually because they were molested. They somehow think that if they hadn't been molested that they wouldn't have been gay. But I believe that that sexuality supersedes
Yeah.
a trauma like that. I believe that you
like
were
no
going
matter
to,
what, even still,
you would have been
continue
gay.
to be you. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
But I also believe that sexuality is a continuum. I believe that some people fall at different points on the spectrum. I believe some of us are all the way gay and some of us are all the way straight. But I think some fall in the middle. You know, some are bisexual.
Bisexual.
But then there are women or men who are not all the way straight, but they're more straight than they are gay, but they've had an experience here or there.
Crazy.
You know what I mean? So I don't think that it's just cookie cutter like that. So to your point, to your question, I don't think that it's always about deception or hiding. I think sometimes it's just you're trying to figure it out as you're going along. And,
Yeah.
you know, I actually had a conversation with a woman the other night. She said that she knew that, a white woman, she knew that she was gay, but she got married because she thought she was bisexual. So she was married for 2 years, and then she finally said to him, listen, I'm not bisexual. I'm actually gay.
Oh wow.
You know, because I think it takes a
Because
moment.
a lot of women do that. They'll dibble and dab.
Yeah,
like
well, men
other
and women do that. It's
Right,
human nature. You know what I mean?
right.
Sexuality
But
is
I mean,
human
like,
nature.
they'll do the threesome thing.
Right.
You know,
And women a
like-
lot of times will have their experiences in college.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So for me, I didn't have any experiences until I was 22 years old, until I moved here to Atlanta. I had gone through college. I had the feelings. I absolutely had the feelings. And I write in the first book about
Yeah.
how I...
The holes in the shower curtain.
Oh, you got
The
to that
guy.
point? That's what I was just about to
I
say.
love that.
I remember when I was in the dormitory, you know, because I was suppressing my
Yeah.
sexuality, it was trying to bubble out. It was
Yeah.
trying to explode somewhere.
Yeah.
And because I was so adamant about suppressing it, it would show itself when I would go to the shower to shower in the dormitory
Like the
in college.
privacy time.
In the privacy time. And so I would always try to sneak a peek on the way to my shower, and hope that I would see one of the other guys maybe naked. And then if I didn't, I was cutting holes in the shower curtain. And like the night before, and then the next day it was crazy. It was crazy. And so I liken that to, you know how you hear these stories now where these senators or these religious people are going through an airport and they get caught on some sort of sexual offense.
Yeah.
Or even in the case of like George Michael, many years ago, he was in a park in like Beverly Hills, and people was like, well, why would he do that? But what happens is when you've suppressed the feeling for so long, it erupts, and you have no control over it because you don't live a quote unquote gay lifestyle. You don't have gay friends. You don't move in gay circles. You don't socialize.
Yeah, totally.
So you live a heterosexual life. And so if you happen to be going through an airport, or you happen to be at a health club, a gym, or a sauna,
Yeah.
if the opportunity is there, you seize it because the adrenaline rush is there and you're not even thinking about the consequences of it. And so, I was suppressing my feelings all through college. And finally, I came to Atlanta to pursue a songwriting career. And so it was me pursuing the songwriting career, and trying to handle this whole thing that was happening in my personal life, which was my sexuality. So Words Never Spoken is not just a book about my coming out. It's about my journey as an entrepreneur, as a writer, but also trying to balance what was going on in my personal life, going from dating women to dating men, and trying to
Did you ever get to have sex?
Understand that? No, I haven't.
Ah!
No, I didn't. I mean, I used to play around a little bit.
I read that you said
I wanted to have that to happen first, right?
Right.
Because at the time I was thinking that.
What do they call that again?
I don't know. I know what you're talking about when a guy is gay and they've never had an experience with a woman. I don't know. I know what it's called. But no, I mean I played a little bit with it, but nobody has ever asked me that, especially on the air.
Really?
Not on the air.
We're keeping it funky.
I see.
Okay.
I see. Yeah. I love it though. But yeah, so yeah, but I mean, because growing up, you know, my friends were male, you know, and you know, you have those conversations about, you know, your first time and have you done this? What have you done? And you know, that whole thing.
And you used to exaggerate everything.
And I used to exaggerate, you know what I mean? And you know, because you want to kind of fit in and feel like you're a part of whatever's happening. Right. And I've always felt more comfortable around women than I have with men. Even now, not with when you're talking about gay men, but you know, straight men. I've always felt more comfortable around women. Yeah. I'm not insecure around straight men any longer because that was a part of my journey too.
Oh, really?
I used to be really uncomfortable around straight men because I guess I was very.
Did you not want them to think that you liked them?
Think that, and that I didn't want them to think that I was gay, or question if I was gay, or wonder if I was gay. You know, anything along those lines. Yeah, I remember.
Like you just wanted them to view you as a person.
As a person.
Hanging out.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. But even with my female friends, when I first started telling my female friends that I was gay, I made it very clear that I didn't want to be their gay friend in Atlanta. Oh, this is my gay friend Craig. Right. You know, I didn't want to be that. I didn't.
Who introduces somebody as this is my straight friend?
Well, you know how people say, "Oh, this is my friend Craig." Oh, yeah, he's gay. Right. You know how you just kind of throw that on at the end. Yeah. I didn't want it to be that.
Yeah.
You know, so I was very clear about that.
Are you still like that?
I don't want to be classified as anything other than me, you know, the person. But I don't.
Oh, this is my friend Craig. He's black.
Right, he's black. But I don't really think about it now. I guess, but that's a part of growth. You know what I mean? Growth is painful, but it's necessary.
It's the truth.
And so I don't really worry too much about it now.
Yeah. There's been so many stories in the media though, with like so many celebrities and people that have been like outed and. Like Mr. C in New York City.
I know what you're talking about.
On the DL, you know, brother. Like it's like, oh my God.
And the hip hop artists and that kind of.
And in the hip hop
and the athletes. You know. But the reality is, I used to get, and I see people doing this now, getting so consumed with celebrities are gay or not, especially when you're talking about black folks, because we haven't really had.
It's like, oh my God, there's an alien.
Right. Like, we really haven't had any black celebrities come out the closet.
Right.
So it's like this. It's a quest, and people are like, well, you know, such and such is gay. You know, he's gay or she's gay. You know. Right. But I don't really focus my time on that anymore. I just celebrate those who are. That's great. Who are courageous enough and unabashed to live their truth. Like I don't have time to worry and wonder who's gay and who isn't. You know.
Well, I mean, like in the music industry, there's a lot of like DL folks, I guess, quote unquote. You know, people are like hiding. They got girlfriends, and you know, I mean, for me that becomes an issue because I'm thinking like, damn, if I knew my man was on the side, you know, then it's like it becomes an issue for people who are straight, whether it's a guy, a girl, whatever. You know, so in the music industry, you see a lot of that. Like,
so would it be more heartbreaking for you if your man was involved with a man or if he was involved with a woman? Because at the end of the day, it's still cheating.
It's the same. It's cheating. Period.
But do you think it carries more weight if he was with a man?
Oh, now I'm getting interviewed? What's going on here?
Well, because I've had women say to me, well, yeah, that would really... Women are more tolerant if their man is with a woman because it's almost like it's expected.
Yeah, I guess so.
And they're not necessarily always inclined to leave if it's a woman. They're more inclined to leave if it's a man.
That makes sense. I think so. Yeah.
Okay. Just asking.
I don't know. I think it does hold a little bit more weight for whatever reason. But if I was with my man and he was in a relationship with another man, I would just be like, what?
Well, here's the thing. The interesting thing about that is
it is a little bit more.
My second book opens with that storyline. It's called One Thing for Certain, Two Things for Sure. I actually just published that book in May. So I've been on a book tour with that book, as well as Words Never Spoken, since May. But I was involved briefly with a married man. He is still calling my phone.
I know.
He called last week. But I'm at a point now where I have set new boundaries because I never had any intentions of getting involved with anyone in a relationship, married or otherwise. Mm-hmm. It just kind of happened and it just kind of slipped away because we were friends for like 6 months.
It's a dual thing going on. It's a guy that's straight, and then it's also, or a guy that we think is straight, right? Whatever.
He's living a straight identified life.
Identified life,
mm-hmm.
Correct.
DL.
And then DL, and then, but then he's also married is the other thing. And that's
the other
more
caveat,
like
yeah.
I guess sin is, so to speak.
Well,
but
we were friends for 6 months, and it just didn't go anywhere. I was very adamant of, and it just got away from us. I mean, he said at that point they had only been married for 11 months when I first met him. And he said that he was going to have the conversation with her. Because, see, the thing is, he had been in a relationship with the man 10 years before he met her. They had been in a relationship for 10 years. He and this other guy broke up. He met her, got engaged. But even while he was engaged, because she was a virgin at the time, so they weren't having any sex. But even while they were engaged for those 4 years, mm-hmm. he was involved with men still for 2 of the 4 years that they were together.
Right.
And he thought that once he got married and they started having sex, that the feelings would just go away. But
I feel like this is a commonality. Like, I have a lot of gay friends, like I just said, the guys, and I feel like half of them have this story that they dealt with a guy that had a girlfriend or a wife.
Mm-hmm. Because on some level, and I don't think I was thinking this consciously, but somewhere probably tucked away, I was probably thinking that I was going to be the one that pulled him to his truth.
Yeah.
Not turn him out, because he had been in a relationship with a man for 10 years.
Okay, that makes sense.
So he had been gay.
I guess it's almost like a woman dealing with a married man. It's like, maybe someday he'll leave.
Yeah,
and like realize that he's in love with me. No, totally.
Yeah, and then the reality is, just like this white woman that I just told you I spoke with 2 days ago, she was married to a man, and she knew she was gay, mm-hmm. and so she said to me that she wasn't having an affair while she was married, but towards the end, when she was ready to leave the marriage, is when she started, I guess, moonlighting with women. But she actually told her husband. She told her husband that she wanted to be divorced. They went to counseling to try to, I guess, quell her feelings. Yeah. But again, this is not something you can pray away. Sexuality is instinctive. It's how we're wired. Yep. It's not decided. It's just a part of who you are. Yep. It's not something that you can pray away.
Yeah, definitely.
If that's the case.
It's harder for men to find like a serious relationship, gay men to find a serious relationship?
I think that the journey is just really different. It's definitely challenging. Yeah. I think because gay men come, and that's whether you're black, white, Latino, gay men come to the table, come to the relationship carrying so many layers. Some people may call it baggage. Some people may call it issues. Gay men come to the relationship carrying so many layers, so many years of denial, trying to pretend and sneaking and cheating about their own sexuality. Yeah. And some come into the relationships carrying that same behavior, sneaking and cheating, and not really knowing how to rid themselves of that behavior, even after they come out of the closet. It almost becomes second nature. Yeah. So yeah, it's really about affirming who you are and shedding all of that stuff that you've carried with you.
Is legal.
Well, that doesn't change anything. You have to change the person. Okay. Yeah, because where there's gay marriage, there will also be gay divorce.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, but I think that it's important. It's necessary, to have that privilege.
Don't you just love how you watch television shows now and everything is like there's gay, and I'm like, oh my god. I'm so happy for my gay guy friends.
I think that it's important to have it. I think some shows are now doing it now just for the sake of it's overkill.
Okay.
Sometimes it just feels forced.
Because you're looking at it from producer perspective.
Yeah, it has to make sense to the
And,
story. Like
yeah.
every show doesn't have to have their gay character. It's like every show
Yeah.
now has to have a gay character because
Yeah.
gay is in. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Well, there's Shonda Rhimes, the girl.
Well, you know, I mean, she's
Right.
dominating ABC,
She's
so
dominating
you know what I mean.
right now, but she's got a lot coming out.
Yeah. Now, I mean,
a lot of other directors.
I don't necessarily think it's been forced with her shows so much, but I've seen shows where it feels kind of forced.
She's so silly. This is what we do in radio. We try to
I can
do
see the
each
shadow
other
of him
off
over
as
there,
we're
yeah.
Recording
Right.
all the time. It's like a normal thing.
But yeah, with her stuff, I don't really feel like it's forced, but it's definitely forced in some of these shows that I've seen. Yeah, it's just overkill.
It's too much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just so sexually driven. Like, we're more than sex.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that too, though, and that's why I asked: is it harder to find somebody to be serious with? And like, you know, now that marriage is legal, like, you know, it's great that it kind of forces, maybe kind of forces people to be a little bit more serious. Like, hey, now we don't have to like play and just be having sex.
Right. I think
now we could like take this thing serious
and actually have a
others
graduation point in the
Yeah.
relationship, because before it's like you were just
there was no graduation.
there was no graduation. You were just lovers or partners or whatever you
Yeah.
classified yourself. But yeah, it definitely it creates a graduation point. And so it makes it a little more difficult to just walk away, you know, because you've built this life and you've had a wedding or had a ceremony where you've had people there to witness and to hold you accountable to the vows that you
Right.
committed to. But I just think that relationships are difficult, period, whether it's gay, straight, or whatever. Integrity is scarce these
It
days,
really
you know what I
is.
mean?
Are you
And-
doing the right thing when
Yeah.
no one is looking?
And consistency is not common.
Yeah.
That's black, that's white, that's gay, that's straight.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's
And
just
temptation is
yeah,
real.
you just have to sift through the stuff, the sludge,
Yeah.
and get to the heart of a person. You know, but I think that we've become more afraid than we are willing to try love, because we've either been a part of a story, a horror story, a train wreck, or we've heard of stories that just didn't work out, and no one wants to be the fool. No one wants to be the next story. Oh, did you hear what happened with Cheka? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
nobody wants to be the next story. So we walk gingerly, we walk carefully into these things. And
But you know what? When you're the next story and you reveal everything, it seems as though that's when you have the most success.
yeah, but who wants
Because
to?
when you watch these TV shows, everything is just so out there, and you're like, wow, how could these people? I get your point, but I also see like the whole fame, you know.
But that's not happening for regular Joe.
Not a regular Joe, right?
Right, living over here in Spring Street. You know what I mean? Like, that's not happening to just anybody. That's happening.
In the Family Guy.
Yeah, that's not
I'm
happening.
saying there's just so many shows that like
There
in
really are.
living, they're real.
There really are.
And in living the reality, they
Right.
become so famous because they are just them.
But it doesn't take away from the sting or the pain
Yeah.
when you're going through it.
And
You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the difficult part. You know, so I mean, but I realize that all love isn't intended to be a forever kind of love. You know what I mean? Some relationships, some love is only supposed to be a bridge to the next point. And that's what I tried to capture in the books too, you know, because some of those relationships, they rocked me to my core, you know, and I couldn't really understand like why it was happening.
And then you look back and you're like, oh,
Yeah, because I
that's the reason.
yeah. And, you know, there's a chapter called Patterns where I talk about my pattern, my dating pattern, and how I was attracting a certain kind of guy.
What kind of guy was it?
These guys that I thought needed me, not financially, but needed emotional support. Like, there was one guy that I
Like,
dated.
oh, come here, baby.
Yeah,
I got you.
yeah.
Okay.
Abandonment issues, suffering from abandonment issues.
Yes.
So I thought that if I was everything that his family wasn't to him, you know, was a support system, was accountable, was reliable, that my return on that investment would be loyalty, monogamy, longevity. But there's no
But that
guarantee.
didn't work.
No, there's no guarantee in relationships.
So now who are you attracted to? And are you single?
I am single. February will be 5 years.